Hello, it's Tamara Hunter, and I am actually with our service hero from originally day number 34 of 365 Days of Awesome. Celebrate success through service. This is Rob Lowe of the Giving Back podcast. Now, Rob is with me right now for a couple of reasons, but one of which, because I owe him this. For anybody that's been around, or if you want to go back and see some of the first shows, I am still learning technology, but I was very technologically challenged, and he was so wonderful. He was there waiting for me to get on and have me bring him on to the show, and it never happened that day. And then on top of it, he has actually been so generous to me. I mean, he is the service hero of service heroes, because he was so generous with me in the very beginning, because I've been evolving, guys. Evolving. In fact, I will show you this, and then I'm going to go live. He even gave me coaching, and I still have my original drive board. I will never erase this drive board. So welcome, Rob.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on, Tamara. I have to tell you, you don't owe me anything. If anything, I will tell you that people like me owe you our gratitude and a debt of thanks for what everything that you are doing. You and Martha, what you started, the crew, everything that you're doing is so awesome. We have all been. I don't know anybody who hasn't been touched in the first or second degree by cancer. Literally, I don't know anybody who has not been touched in the first or second degree at most by cancer. And what you're doing with Chemo Buddies for Life and evolving into Buddies for Life is fantastic. So we owe you a world of debt.
And back to you. Thank you. And I want to tell everybody how we met, because I think that is an important piece to the story. I was very lucky. I really consider myself very lucky to have met you in San Diego. And the way it all came about is just crazy. And to understand the craziness is to understand someone we have in common. And that is that my senior advisor, who I absolutely adore and love, and I know you do too, Sherry Watson, The Power of Purpose. She's one of the architects of the Americans with Disabilities Act. I mean, she's a legend in the nonprofit world. And she's also a ball of energy and a lot of fun, and just crazy, just always on the go. And when I first met her, and she took Chemo Buddies for Life on as a project, one of the reasons she actually said was that, Tamara, and at the time, my original buddy, Martha, she was talking to us, and she was saying, you guys didn't have a chair at the table. Your chairs were missing at the original table because you guys were not living back then. And so she had been kind of waiting until someone or a nonprofit would show up in her world that would be servicing cancer. And so we were relatively new at the time, still with her. She's like, okay, girls, wherever I go, you've always got an invitation to be there too. So she was coming from Albuquerque to San Diego in my neck of the woods. And she's like, okay, you going to show up? I'm like, absolutely, I'll show up. I had no idea what I was showing up to. None. And the rest really is history, because it was it was still in the very beginning of any of the summits that I had been to. But there you were there. And when you met Sherry, you were like, wait. In fact, I'm going to let you kind of go there. You were kind of like, are you kidding?
Yeah, I was really blown away. I mean, the Americans with Disabilities Act is such landmark legislation that affects all of us, and will affect all of us for as far as we can see in the future.
Right.
And the fact that I was sitting with somebody and meeting and talking and exchanging ideas and stories with somebody who was really one of the co-architects of that legislation, and hearing her story and where she was taking it, it just touched me. And thinking about the impact and her own credibility, and from basically doing it, right, taking like creating nonprofits and then the businesses to go with it, to really service the act itself. I mean, I can't, as a child, I can't even imagine not having the accommodations, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not a handout. It's not charity. It's simply an accommodation for other people to participate fully. And it just seems so patently unfair that I can't even imagine a time that we didn't have it. But believe it or not, it was only, I think it was uh, 78. I think 78 was when it was passed into law, or maybe even a little bit later than that. And it just seems like it's been with us for all of my life, because
Right.
it just doesn't make any sense that it wouldn't be there, right? So
Absolutely. Yeah,
yeah. So the
absolutely.
yeah.
I mean, I see her as a rock star. Everybody that knows my story knows that I raised three children that qualified under that act. And it gave me the permission, it gave me the full rights to go as a parent and fight, not fight, let's just say have that strong discussion with the school board in regards to, at one time, they wanted to put one of my kids in an institution. And I was like, no, that's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
And because of that law, because of that work that they had done, it didn't. And so when I met Sherry originally, and she was excited about what we were doing, I was like blown away because I knew that law. I had it in my hand when I went up against the school board.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah, it's tremendous. It's tremendous. So that was great, and it was so wonderful to be able to meet you at that event in San Diego and sit down and have a margarita
yeah,
and just chat a little bit and hear a little bit more about the story. But I think really for me the focus is back to you and what people like you, leaders like you, are doing. It's been an absolute pleasure and a joy to meet so many incredible leaders doing amazing things in their communities, and everything from health issues, animal rights, foster kids,
mm-hmm.
um, international events as well, in particular education, economic growth, as well as disaster relief. I mean, I've been so lucky, really and truly lucky, to have met these people, people like you. In fact, I jokingly say that people like you. Like, I don't know how people like, what's up with people like you.
I don't
And
know. I
I
don't know. I don't know. Uh, to be honest with you, but I'd like to explore that a little bit more because number one, we're highlighting you as a service hero, and then I want to kind of full circle it because you just released an interview that you did with me in regards to Chemo Buddies for Life
Mhm.
and how that all came together. But you have such an ability. Your brain is just the way you think, and I love watching you think because we now, since the time we met in San Diego, you kind of decided that okay, you were all in. You wanted to come and be where the nonprofits and learn more about what Sherry Watson and her Power of Purpose group and her vision of seeing 10,000 nonprofits that are out there helping to change the world. And you were like, okay, I'm flying to Albuquerque. I think that was the first time, and that was shortly thereafter. You came and you spent time in our mastermind, and
Mhm.
I will never forget watching because and guys, we have some really amazing. You're getting to know some of them. You're going to get to know more over the days that I have left in this year because we only are at 112 today. So many of the nonprofits that are in the mastermind that we work with are out there truly changing the world. And so we were doing what masterminding that is all about and coming up with ideas and how can we help each other? How can we help to make them more sustainable? And you listen and then you think and then you come up with brilliance and that is and then you have such a way of being able to explain it when I didn't realize that you really had a podcast until I think afterwards, and then it was like, oh, that makes total sense. The man's a word genius, and I only know a few of those, and 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 not only that, you're so generous in your ability to share with others, because you do come up with very good ideas, and then you come up with solutions. And I think that that is I believe that that's a gift. So when we were there in the mastermind, you had an opportunity to start getting to know all of us and our different nonprofits. And we at that time were just the Power of Purpose and Sherry Watson, right around then, they were just recognized by Forbes magazine, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's a wonderful opportunity. So the Forbes Nonprofit Advisory Council was formed last year, and the Power of Purpose and Sherry's whole crew being recognized and being asked to join the council, really recognizes her for not only her role in with ADA
Mm-hmm.
and the downdraft of that, and then moving forward from that, the additional things that she's doing for her own organization, and then working with others and other purpose pioneers, as well as other folks who are engaged with her. That was a great recognition of the impact that she's having. So that's fantastic, really fantastic.
Yes, yes. And what you were doing in all of that, you were helping us to prepare for being highlighted as nonprofits that you then started to interview, and you were preparing to even help us to start getting our message out there, even through the Forbes magazine digital platform. And we're still working on that. But the thing about it is that you really came up with some stellar ideas in regards to, it's like, okay, why not use the whole Giving Tuesday idea and start sharing this information? So you start coaching some of us, and you start
Yeah.
coaching me. You
Yeah.
you spent some time with me, and I needed it, and I thank you for it. And that's one of the reasons that you're highlighted as a service hero.
Well, I'll tell you what, some of a great joy is a great joy. My apologies. A great joy is to be able to work with leaders like yourself and some of the other purpose pioneers, as well as guests and people who haven't been on my show, um, with the idea of helping you build your capacity to serve your community, wherever or whomever is in your community. So you think about that a little bit. If I help you in a moment, and help you with, I don't know, wordsmithing something, or like in momentary event, that's one piece. If I can help you with how you set up your introduction or your story, if I can help you with how you promote and engage people at an event, if I can help you develop other business lines, right, then
Right?
that's essentially helping you with the sustainability of your organization, which is fantastic. And that ultimately will build your capacity, right? Your
Right.
service capacity, it fills your cup, and you're able to pour that back into the community, the people, and the people that you serve. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a big piece for me. And it's a great opportunity to use what's in my background, the things that I've worked on,
Right.
in whether it's in finance or operations, in technology or in sales and marketing, and be able to put the focus or use those skills for people that I want to serve.
Mm-hmm.
There was a really smart guy that I've worked with. His name is Ryan Lee, and he had this incredible bit of advice. He said, and I think this is evergreen. I think, if anything, in my opinion, this is probably something that he will be known for probably forever.
Okay.
He said, think of the people that you want to hang out with all day,
Mm-hmm.
and build your business around solving their problems.
I like that.
Oh, I like it a lot.
I like
And
that too.
so every I love all of you,
Mm-hmm.
and what you're doing is so impactful. So, and almost all of you have that problem of building your sustainable, models and building your capacity to serve because you want to do more, right?
Right.
So if that's all of your problems and I like hanging out with you, then I fully can just engage in that, take a very simple approach, find out what you need, and there it is. And like, how can I help you specifically, and build a business around that. And it's pretty simple, and it allows me to be around people that I want to be around, right?
Right, right. And and I have to thank you for that, because one of the reasons that you're doing, and I'm going to get this up here, you have the the Giving Back podcast. Why don't you tell us about what that is, and so we understand, and then we're going to go forward.
Right. So the Giving Back podcast is a show that really shines a spotlight on people and organizations doing amazing things for others. It's pretty simple, but what we learn, the idea is that when we have a show, we not only put the spotlight on them, but listeners can take away not just inspiration, but actual ideas of how they can get involved and how they can make a difference in people's lives. And that's a really important component, right? Like
Right.
knowing actually how to do something, because we're all good, right? We're
Mm-hmm.
wired for that. From a physiological standpoint, it's proven we are wired to connect, to do good for each other, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's a ready market. It's simply, most of the time, it's simply a matter of knowing, how do I do something? How do I get engaged? And that's where the Giving Back podcast comes into play.
And isn't it also encouraged? Part of what your message is that if you're so inclined, and if you have the whole for-profit and the nonprofit, and how the synergy, and how that is such a great alignment together, and that because you do come from a very strong business background. Well, you have a very varied background, but
Yeah.
that's part of your message, right?
Right. So we've had, specifically, we've had a lot of people who come from a business and come not only from a business background, but they're in business and they're adding a lot of value with their community service. And part of what is important to think of in this day and age is uh, how to distinguish yourself in a very genuine and authentic way.
Right.
And one of the ways to do that is in the expression of community service. And instead of shying away from it, um, as a show of vulnerability, or instead of highlighting it simply from a PR or a marketing standpoint, to actually truly embrace and share that, just as you would as an individual, right? Just as you would sharing that with friends or family, you can share that with your network that is created because of your business,
Mm-hmm.
and that will actually propel you. I think, something that's probably one of the strongest metrics in terms of how valuable that is, and how are not valuable in the market, but how much people value it, is there was a cone research that came out last year, and it's been on the upswing, but they said 92% of Americans will, given the same product, same price,
Mm-hmm.
92% will switch to providers who do good, right?
Mm-hmm.
that
Right.
that is not just that they will buy from it or that they have a preference. They will literally switch from one to the other, based on that. And that's important to think about,
Yes, it
because
is.
that's a huge competitive advantage. And I
Mm-hmm.
like to think of that because from a business perspective, there's so much that's been talked about, that the purpose of business is business, and the only thing that they should be worried about is profit. Well, what I posit is that if that's true, and I actually don't doubt that it is true, then actually, in order to create the most profit, you actually do have to express that. You actually do need to get involved in a meaningful, authentic way with your community, and allow every member of your business, right, to
Right.
express that in a way that's meaningful for them, because that's really actually the only way that you can maximize profit. So
Mm-hmm.
it just takes, this world is a little bit different. We have a lot of craziness going on. I would say, I mean, we've always had craziness, and we always will have
Yeah.
craziness. But
Yeah.
one of the things that you notice is these trends, not fads, but trends, and that is a major, major trend. Is that, people getting involved and people wanting to associate with other people who have a like mind. And again, it doesn't have to be the same charity. It doesn't have to be the
Right.
same
Right.
cause. It's the
Right.
fact that you're getting involved and that you care enough to use your resources as a business,
Mm-hmm.
right? To make
Mm-hmm.
a difference and have an impact on the community and the people who live in the community is a really, really big deal.
It is a big deal, and you're a very good messenger of that message because you have a real good way of being able to explain it and make it make sense. And what's interesting is that I think it's very interesting because we now have the younger generation kind of teaching us old guard that it's important to have a cause. They're doing it with their dollars. They're doing it with their buying power. They're doing it with their volunteerism. I mean, we've got, I really do believe that the millennials, as you call it, the younger crowd, that they've got a lot of really good stuff going on, and they're teaching us, and they're teaching the business community in many ways that hey, you got to listen because we want you to want to help others. We want to see that, and we'll reward you with our patronage. We will reward you with our might, our dollars,
Yeah.
and for it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And not only in terms of their buying power, but their engagement at a place of business. So when I say that is when you look at business magazines like the Harvard Business Review, or Fortune, or just things like that. If you look at some of the surveys that happen with CEOs, a top five concern is how do we attract and how do we retain and how do we grow this workforce, which has passed the tipping point of over 50% millennials.
Right.
Well, one of the things that's really important is how are you as a company engaged in the service for the community? How are you making an impact? And how can I participate in that? And so there's many other factors, but one big one is the idea of service, right? Is the idea of community service, of standing out, of knowing that your company stands for something, not just in terms of the quality of the product or service, but also in terms of the company itself and being proud to work there, not just for the profits, not just for the dollar profits, but the
Right.
impact, right? The
Right.
impact that the company
Right.
is having. So this is a huge, huge component. And again, what's really interesting for me and a lot of people who are like kind of geeking out on all this stuff is that, again, it doesn't have to be the same charity, and it doesn't have to be even the same cause. It's the idea that there is an expression of caring for the people in the community in which they operate.
Right.
That's a big, big deal. And we're seeing, companies who embrace this are really reaping the rewards. When they do it in an authentic and genuine way, they're
Right.
reaping those rewards.
That's very important. That's an extremely important piece because I think that it's that sincerity. It's that if they're doing it because oh okay well we're supposed to do this so we're going to do it and then we'll squash our competitor later, they're not doing it with that true sincerity, with that true authenticity. It's just like everything else, they're going to be found out. It has to be genuine because you can tell when a company or a nonprofit, a profit, a group of people, whatever it may be, you can tell their authenticity. You can tell that they are service bound by the results.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
um, you know,
How they talk about it, right? How others talk about it. Are they creating what I call community ambassadors? And community ambassadors actually work both ways. So if you think about all the stakeholders, there are some, right? And again, I said stakeholders, not shareholders.
Right.
Stakeholders include the shareholders, right? The people who are participating in their stocks, their bonds, or some other derivatives. But when we talk about people who are impacted, we're talking about, yes, the employees, and yes, the customers. We're also talking about the vendors, right? We're also talking about people
Yes.
in the community in
Right.
which the company operates, right? So that's a huge opportunity to create ambassadors both inside and outside of the company who
Right.
inhabit that same space and who are advocating or evangelizing about the company because of what they're doing. And
Right.
what they're doing is so far beyond a product or service. It's actually the impact that they're having on the people in the community in which they operate, right?
Absolutely. I love it. Okay, so I wanna say that you are getting a thumbs up on your words also right now. You are talking very true, is what you're what is being said. And I wanna say thank you for highlighting Chemo Buddies for Life. I know that I haven't talked a lot about this, and one of the reasons I wanted to bring you on, and I've been wanting to bring you on because I felt like, okay, I owed you it because I figured it out and now I can get you on. Is that this is October, and Chemo Buddies for Life actually services, and we support all cancer. So not just breast cancer. And I know that October is breast cancer month. But however, Martha Newsom, my original chemo buddy, and I actually met in a chemotherapy room. And I don't always go into this story much here over on the Service Heroes, because it's about the service heroes. But you actually interviewed me in regards to why and how Chemo Buddies really started, and that whole story, and then what it is that we're doing to support people in our mission to see that no one faces cancer alone. And I really wanted to bring you on to say you actually have that interview live, right? It's
Yes.
something that people can go and listen to.
Yes. Yes. If you go into the Giving Back podcast, givingbackpodcast.com, you'll see that picture right there. And it is about you folks, and how you got started and what it's all about, which is fantastic. Just absolutely fantastic.
Thank you. I think so. And in fact, I don't know that you had a chance, but if you have a chance to uh, to watch the previous show that I just did for day number 112. It was with Tatiana, and Tatiana is actually a part of our buddy system. And I really want to highlight this because we're talking about Chemo Buddies for Life. Chemo Buddies for Life, one thing we are not is we are not about the type of treatment you choose. Our name is Chemo Buddies for Life because Martha and I met in a chemotherapy room, and we went through our health journey together as buddies, and we have now built a nonprofit mimicking that, and then maximizing the whole benefit of doing, having a buddy by your side or buddies by your side. Tatiana actually joined the Chemo Buddies for Life, and she is not affected by cancer. She is affected by kidney disease. And so but she was feeling isolated and alone. She's not in her native country. She's now been put on the transplant list, and she's fighting back in a really great way. And we highlighted that story. And the reason I wanted to share all of this with everybody, if they're going to go and listen to our story, is to understand that we are supporting those that are affected by cancer. That means the patient, those people that love and support them, including the medical community. Many of them need buddies. And also those that are affected by other health, life-changing health events. We don't want to exclude them either. And I wanted that to be really shared because as people go and listen to the story, which is a very interesting story, because My original buddy Martha, who is the co-founder of Chemo Buddies for Life, she's a hoot. She calls herself a hot mess. Born in Cuba, and she's a little of Ricky and Lucy Ricardo mixed, and I just absolutely love her. And we were able to travel, our health journey together. And I thank you for sharing that story and having it go live in the month of October.
Great. Well, I mean, it's perfect timing. It's a wonderful story. And as you grow, what's really exciting is that you're finding ways to grow. And your story will actually become more in tune as you grow, because you'll find that these stories that resonate and who comes in aboard and who gets involved
Right,
and the impact that you're having, it will actually in some ways allow you to focus that and really touch those people more and more, because you'll find your footing, you'll find your tribe, and those folks will take their own story and move out. And so you become this umbrella which is facilitating all these wonderful engagements, these relationships that
right,
are in a time of just great personal need, right? I
right.
mean, that this
Yes,
is the
yes,
essence of it. So it's
yes, yes.
fantastic as you've grown in terms of the scope, that being able to narrow your focus in a way, right? It's, I know it
Mhm.
sounds contradictory, but
But no,
those
no,
things
it doesn't.
happen, right?
Right,
It's,
right.
you're expanding that, but at the same time you're narrowing, because now you found that, and you can take that, exactly where people are and help them exactly where they are, which is, I feel so blessed to be able to, um, to be a part of that in some way, whether it's sharing that with the world, or whether that's, being engaged with you and helping you however I can. It's just a wonderful opportunity for me to see that grow and have an impact.
Well, thank you, thank you. And in fact, tomorrow, I'm going to announce it here soon. Tomorrow, we're going to have I have a few buddies now. The way it all works. And one of my chemo buddies for life. She's because I we all have them. She's going to actually come on, and she's going to be talking with everybody on the Chemo Buddies for Life page. And so yes, it is evolving, and it is focusing in, and we are an ever growing and ever evolving community of people that really the bottom line is we don't want anybody to face something so huge alone,
Right.
and that's really the focus. I want to just touch on something as we start kind of coming together and closing this, but I want to highlight something you just said and explore that a little bit more. You have been very generous and multiple times, and in fact, Kathleen just even said, two people that she's one of our nonprofits. There's a few of them that joined us from the Power of Purpose. They're watching right now, and you have been very generous in helping to coach me and helping to spend time here, ideas about how you can get your message out there. But you also are doing even more than that, aren't you? You're all about, when you were talking about um, sustainability and how nonprofits, a nonprofit needs to be, yeah, it's not like we're just out there doing something for good and we are not a corporation. We need to bring in funds so that we can translate that energy, those funds, which is energy basically, but we can translate it into doing the good for the community that we're serving. And you're kind of launching, you're doing some new things, aren't you? Let's
Yeah.
talk about that.
Okay, well, cool. I'd love to. So there's a couple things. First of all, what we talked about a little bit earlier in terms of sustainability, there's different types of programs that you can create, and oftentimes they're a bit overlooked. Number one, either because, hey, this is what we do, and it's a service to people, and we shouldn't charge for it, which can be valid, but then maybe you can charge another group that is less, I wouldn't say less deserving, but I would say is in a different position, like for example, right? um, the other piece is in terms of, like, you wouldn't think that that could help that particular organization. So an example about the first one would be like this. We have a mutual friend, Benny, from
Yes.
Service Dogs in New Mexico. She's
Love her. Yes.
fantastic. Oh
Love
my God,
her energy. Love
she's
her.
doing, God, she's just doing amazing things. So what she has done is a couple things which I found very remarkable. First of all, her training is absolutely complete, right? So she is training service dogs, and everything for veterans is pro bono. And by
Right.
pro bono, I don't mean free. Pro bono means for good. And that's specifically what she's built for. So that is pro bono.
Mm-hmm.
For
Right.
children with disabilities, okay, there is a charge for the families. Now, this is a complete system.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, a complete
Right.
system. So there are two components to that. Number one is if you're an able-bodied person like myself who has a young lady who would like to have a dog, and I'm thinking, well, I'd like them to be trained to another level.
Right.
I can work with Benny and Service Dogs of New Mexico, and I will pay for that, and
Right.
gladly, because I know where that money is going.
Yes. And she's very good. Her
It's
program is
very,
awesome.
very good at it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
The second thing is, as a trainer, if I am a dog trainer and I want to be a certified trainer, a service dog trainer, I can
Right.
also have that. Okay. And that's a great program. So those are two money making or revenue generating programs. A third one is this: Benny knows the laws very, very well.
Yes.
Okay. In terms of service dogs, in terms of therapy dogs, in terms of
Right.
access. So
Right.
she is offering a wonderful service for businesses who welcome pets and who want to be more aware, right? So
Right.
like we have all these things about OSHA, right? Like safety in the workplace, and you have to have all these signs. Well, there's another way to look at it in terms of I've gone the extra step to understand how I can welcome pets and their owners, and what I should do. And she can help them walk through that. That's an entire course or program they have. That is an incredible service. It's a
Oh yeah.
wonderful service because there are so many people who would love to take their pet children with them everywhere they go. And in fact,
Yes.
they will take them everywhere they go if there's even one place that they go that allows those pets to come in. Right.
Right.
Not just
Exactly. Yes.
not just allows, but actually welcomes them
Welcome.
in.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
I mean, you think about the opportunity mutually for a business who says, yeah, I love dogs. I love
Yeah.
cats, and I welcome them in, and to be able to
Right.
put that sign out there and to be able to be acknowledged as such a business that takes that care. So
Right.
that's one aspect. There's another aspect, which is when you have different types of services or products that aren't necessarily in your wheelhouse. So I bring up a young lady who is a dog trainer. She's a dog whisperer of sorts, and
Oh.
she's not with Benny's organization. In fact, she's with the church.
Oh.
Now,
Okay.
now you may think, well, how does dog training and a church, what do they have to do with each other? Well, there are people who in the church have pet children, dogs specifically, and they want their dogs to be trained. They would like to be better trainers. This person basically created an entire video series and a book, and it's being sold. Initially, it was with the church because it was only available there, and she was also doing classes. So she had classes, videos, a book, the whole thing.
Okay.
It's gone beyond that, beyond her church. It's gone beyond her community. Now she has people from all over the U.S. who are buying that and buying her services. And
Obviously, it must work. This training program.
right, and a huge portion of that is going back to her cause, which in this case happens to be a church, which on the face value doesn't have anything to do with dogs. It has nothing to do with dog training. But it is a service that's really valued. So why not have that? And so there's that piece. So that's in terms of sustainability. You know, there's also things like fundraisers and donations, and really the thinking through fundraising, not as fundraising, but thinking about it in terms of raising awareness. That's number one.
Yeah.
Raising awareness
Yeah.
of in the broadest sense of the problem, right?
Mhm. Yes.
and then and then within that, raising awareness of the organization's role in that and what you do, how you do it. Okay. the next
Yes.
step the next step is raising engagement. So again, if we take it to the broader issue or the broader cause, helping
Right.
people understand how they can get engaged, and then within that, how can they get engaged with your specific organization,
I
right?
love it. Right,
Right?
right,
Because we're
right.
always thinking about service. And
Mhm.
so when people look at that and they say, oh, well, naturally they're going to say, well, what are you doing? Well, there you go. Okay.
Right,
But
right.
it's getting out there broadly and then bringing it in. And then it's getting out there broadly within that group who care about it and then bringing them in. The last piece is about it's about raising it's about raising resources. It's about fun. It's about raising fun and engagement within, and that is specifically within your organization. But you know, there's this thing that's really funny. We talk about donations and we talk about being money, and then you think about what the money buys or what it purchases. Well, I can just tell you flat out is that if I had the opportunity to raise, $100,000, and it all had to go back into my administrative costs and everything, okay, that's a heavy burden.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's a great way to use the money. It's a really important, but it's not as impactful oftentimes as people would like it to be in a very direct way, right? They understand that. If I had that donated to me, if I had, let's say, I had $50,000 donated, right? And that was
Mhm.
all towards my administrative. But then I had that $50,000 equivalent was donated to me. And then I had the other $50,000 of the $100,000, okay, that would be directly for services. I guarantee you that I will have a better outcome when I can have people donating the things that I would pay for, because then I have the opportunity to
Right.
engage them more, right? And
Mm-hmm.
create really solid commitments and relationships. Okay. And
Yeah.
I will still have that 50,000 that's specifically for delivering service. Okay. So it's a different way of thinking about fundraising. And of course, money is important. Money buys things that we need. Not everybody can step up and, for example, there was a great example about aviation, and, it, there's only it's a smaller world where people can donate a whole airplane. But yeah, you can buy it and you can buy gas, right? But
Okay.
nonetheless, if we think about fundraising in that way,
Mm-hmm.
think about the fundraising events that are specific for fundraising, use them as friend raising, getting more people in, think about it as fun raising, and then also think about on a very consistent basis all year long, how are we raising the commitment levels for people who are already engaged, right? Whether it's for time, talent, or treasure. That's what we really want. So
Mm-hmm.
there's those pieces, and there's another, like, it's a new program that has just been, it's so exciting. It's so exciting. And it directly has to do with Sherry,
Okay.
Sherry Watson and the team, and
Right.
it's just really, really fantastic.
Okay.
We had an incredible insight that they gave us when it came to real estate. Okay.
Yes.
You remember
Yes.
that? It was
Yes.
fantastic. We were in
Yes.
New Mexico, right?
Yes.
The
Mm-hmm.
first time we were in Vegas. We were in Vegas
Yes.
together, and there was
Yes.
something about what they talked about that just kind of clicked a little bit. And I have a background in real estate, and something clicked, and it was this idea of being of service. And I love that, and I come back to that again and again, because in
Yeah.
this case, I thought of being of service to the real estate professionals, right? And it just
Okay.
finally sunk in my head. So I had this idea about using real estate donations, right? And I said, hey, this is the program that I would create. And I vetted it by a friend of mine. I just called him when we were up there. We just before we went up to the pool after we broke for the evening. I called him,
Okay.
and
Right.
literally I had a 30-second conversation. I said, "Hey, Henry, this is a program I'm thinking about creating. Um, I'm going to tell you, it gives you full market value commissions on vacant or unoccupied commercial and residential property. And he says, okay, I'm listening. And I said, and we can do any size property anywhere in the US, commercial and real estate, and you'll also get an exclusive listing. And he stopped and he says, we need to talk when you get back.
Yeah.
And based out of that, we started working on some things. And now we've got this up and running where we have
Oh,
this very, very powerful program. It's the Strong Communities Real Estate Program. And essentially, it's harnessing the power of real estate to strengthen and rebuild communities all across America. And it's super exciting. It's super exciting, Tamara. I mean, you think about
yeah,
it.
I can see how it would be. I mean, I grew up in a very small town in the east part of San Diego County,
Uh huh.
and it was like a horse town. And there's still areas that could really use some help. And I'm thinking right now, there's going to be so many people in so many communities, and so that would be absolutely interested in what you're talking about.
Well, great. I'm glad to hear that
Yeah,
because it is an opportunity that we have to, you know, you think about a fundraiser. Okay,
yeah,
I want you to
okay,
think about a fundraiser, going to a big gala, and
yeah,
here's a live auction. Everybody's going crazy, and they're all in there for the same reason. They're there to support this community. They're there to support this cause. There's great energy. Oh, look, there's a trip to Tahoe, a trip to Hawaii, a trip to New York comes up. Oh, we've wanted to go there. It's time to vacation. The charity is essentially the excuse. It's an excuse
right,
to go big, right? Okay.
right, yeah,
All of us in this great country of ours, we've got 98% of people, they care. They want to do good. And
yes,
out of
yes,
that, there are people who own real estate that is really it's on the books. It's greatly underutilized, underperforming, or perhaps even vacant. Okay.
yeah, and a
So
drain. Yeah, sometimes it's
exactly. And it can
okay.
actually be a negative asset because
Yeah,
it's cost. And
yeah,
yes, there's appreciation.
yeah.
We know all that. But this is the thing. The tax laws have been on the books for over 100 years. Generally,
Mhm.
I mean, generally as we see them. And they
Right,
know that.
right.
But the difference is that to point out what an impact donating that real estate can make, okay, a real impact on people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Right,
then
right.
allowing the tax laws to be an excuse to do something that you really want to do, right?
Okay,
So
right.
whether or not you're bidding $1,000 for this trip, or $10,000 or $60,000 for an experience, or whether you're bidding up and donating your building, whatever it is, it's all the same. What it comes down to is what people have in their hearts,
Right,
and
right, right.
understanding the impact that your participation will have, right? That's what
Okay,
it's all about. So
okay,
it's a huge opportunity. And there's over $1 trillion in real estate
right.
that can be freed up and actually create a better cash flow situation for
Uh-huh.
their owners.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
That's available, and all of that can flow back to the service of their community and wherever that owner would like it to go. And so it's a huge opportunity. It's a great opportunity for us.
So it's basically, if someone was to have this property that they're underutilizing, it's a drag on the books, whatever it may be, and they see that this might be of value and service, that they've got a charity of choice, a nonprofit that they're interested in helping, and they want to, and and in their community, meaning that the physical town, city, whatever it may be, it would be great to have that property revitalized, have it in use again, have it. you know, alive, if you will, again, because many times it's like some of the properties that I know have been vacant. And I was thinking in my old town, that they're vacant, they're falling apart. It's an eyesore, and it could be something that could be of use and of service and of value. And why hold on to it if it's not going to be doing any good? And what you're saying is that if they were to go ahead and start looking at it in that, why not do good for the community that it is in, and then good for the community of choice, meaning their nonprofit, a charity, to help further a cause, and there's a benefit because of the tax situation. That
Right.
it's win-win.
Right, you've hit it. You've hit it, and I think to go a step, what we've done is go actually a step further. Right,
And that's,
is
yeah, okay.
working with some of these guys to actually go a step further. So, first of all, it's that the conversation is pretty simple. The conversation is actually focused on what is it that you care about. So,
Okay.
Tamara, you have a building, you have whatever else it is, and I just say, so what's important for you? What is the legacy that you would like to leave? What is it that you want your children to be able to point to in terms of the difference or the impact that you've had? And we start the conversation there, because the difference is between many organizations that do this and Strong Communities, which is the nonprofit that I started with my wife and a very good friend of ours up in Oregon. What the difference is that, in addition to the guests that we've had and the nonprofits that they represent, including Chemo Buddies for Life, we represent so many different geographical communities as well as communities of need, that we can help you find phenomenal organizations that have a true impact, a true human impact, or animals, right? Because we have that
Right,
too.
right. Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Um,
Can't forget
but the
our
right,
animal
but
friends.
and the idea is this: is that we are agnostic. What we want to do is help build the sustainability of those organizations, and that your money can go directly towards both servicing that community that you care about, right, and making a difference on that cause, and then
Mhm.
also that a portion of that money will go towards helping that organization build their sustainability for the
Yeah,
long term, right?
yeah.
So
Right,
there's I it's a new approach. It's really needed. It is based on that reframing that I told you about from Ryan Lee, who said, think about the people that you want to spend, you could spend all day with, and then build your business around solving their problems. So
right,
that is the problem that they all have. So there's two things: they need money to service, and they also ultimately would love to be at a point where they are self-sustaining, or at least
right,
much stronger in terms of what they offer and how to position that so that they become sustainable, right? So
right.
that's part of the goal. But it
Okay.
really comes down to that conversation of, what do you want on your tombstone? We talked about, you and I talked about that, and that's a big part for me.
Yeah.
I am doing my tombstone work. My tombstone will read, he made it easy for people to do good. Okay,
I like
so
that. Yeah.
where is it that yours? Where is it that anybody's is? That's essentially the starting question. That's really where we start, because that's the foundation of why you would want to donate anything, right?
Right.
Time, talent, or treasure. That's the foundation of it. So we start with that, and we take it from there, knowing that we will have, in all likelihood, we will have, either in-house or by association, we'll be able to find them the right organization, the right people, and the right cause, so that the property that they have becomes a very valuable asset. It becomes something that helps the community and has a direct impact on people. And by the way, they will also benefit greatly. We have some experts in house who are doing, who make sure that that they get the highest tax benefit, right? And that they can use that over the course and spread that over 5 years, or have it in year 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, or overall. And the fact that we can do this anywhere in the US, and that we can also help nonprofits develop their own real estate donation program as well, and work with us in order to build that wherever they're at, because it doesn't matter where they're at, which is really, really cool. And sometimes people misunderstand, like, well, this guy has so much, why doesn't he do it? It's like, why doesn't he or she? So that's a good question. And if you come at it with real curiosity and ask them, well, what's been stopping you before? There might be very, very good reasons. In fact, there probably are, because like I said, people are good.
Right.
98%
No,
of
I
people are
agree,
good.
100%. That's why
So,
I highlight them.
right. So if you ask them with genuine curiosity, what has stopped them before, they'll tell you. And
Right.
can we offer a solution for them to do good? Can we make it easy for people to do good?
Right, right. And it's like I say, to find the service hero within themselves, because oftentimes, in serving others, you and sometimes people don't even realize that they have that inside of them until that question is asked, or they are highlighted. And so I love it, I love it, I love it. So I want to say thank you. And we have some people that have been we've got so many people that are like commenting, and I've been letting you kind of explain it all, but I want to just say that we've got a duo here that's saying yes, I'm here, and they're talking to each other. So it's like a party going on. And I want to say thank you for your time and for everything and explaining this, and thank you for the Giving Back podcast. And can you let's have you afterwards, if you wouldn't mind sharing that in the comment area. And so if people want to go to your Giving Back podcast, you're on a website, you've got it on Facebook. Are you on any of the other social media also?
Sure. If you Giving Back Pod at, I think it's our Twitter account. Basically, if you go to givingbackpodcast.com,
It
you'll
will be
find
there.
everything there. Feel free to contact me at givingbackpodcast at gmail.com.
Okay.
I'm right there. You can reach me on Facebook at Giving Back Podcast, and just love to hear your stories. Love to hear what your thoughts are. How, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. Maybe you have some insight that you can share. Maybe you even have some people that you want to connect me with, whether it's for our show, which is always awesome, or maybe specifically for any of those needs, whether it's real estate or helping them build their sustainability, helping them build their capacity to serve others in their community. Whatever it is, I'd love to hear from the folks who are part of
Right.
your
To
tribe.
help them to do the good. I
Yeah.
like that. Help others do good. And that is the way I see you. And you have such a amazing way of being able to explain things, and I appreciate it. And thank you for the time that you took, because I know that it went a little longer than we were going to go, but I really wanted to be able to to share what it is that you are doing and how you are helping others. And so thank you. And I want to close by saying, yay, finally we were able to highlight you, which day number 34. That was a few days ago in this
Yeah.
program now, but day number 34, service hero Rob Lowe. I want to thank you for your service and all that you do. And I can't wait to be. I'm going to share the link for the Giving Back podcast now that I've made it official that it's out there, about the Chemo Buddies for Life and Martha Newsom and myself and the two original Chemo Buddies, our story. And I want to thank you
Fantastic.
for helping me share it.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you again for everything you're doing. Thank you for having me on today. It's a real honor. Thank you
Well,
so much. It's great to see you, and I look forward to working with you more and helping you grow, and just really making a difference in people's lives. Thank you so much, Tamara.
thank you, Robin. We'll see you later, and then I will see everybody else tomorrow. See ya. Bye-bye.